Let's roll. Welcome to the show. From lasers to the CNC. What a journey, let's go. Santa's in the house. Tell me how you made it. Santa's in the house. Show me how you shaped it. Craft by craft, we'll see how you got here with me.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Santa and the Maker. We're up to episode 7, lucky 7 here. So, Santa Chris with Santa's Laser Engraving. I hope everybody had a great last 2 weeks and got some stuff done. If you've been following me at all, you know I've had a couple of adventures. One of the first ones here, I'll show you right quick, is got the mini split up over there, and it's running now. And you can see that Mrs. Claus's area is starting to come up pretty good. So, we've got that squared away finally, and then the scourge of the I thought we weren't going to have a live today because I went and cut the line in two with a spade for the fiber optic cable, but we got that squared away, got that fixed as well. So I've had a heck of a week, but we just keep trudging along. So but we're here to tell about every maker and their story and the craft journey, and that's what this show is all about, and we hope to discover the people that are behind it. So today's guest, I have had the pleasure of actually meeting him and his family several weeks ago. They came down and went to the Outer Banks, and we went down and met with them, and we had a great time. We sat and talked, and had we not got hungry, we would have probably be talking to this point because it was a lot of fun. So we really enjoyed spending time with him and his family. But he does a live show on his Crafty Creations website, YouTube channel, and he likes to stay on there for a little while. He likes the longer live shows, so we all get on there with him and discuss different things. But he's also been a guest on Two Old Guys in a Workbench with Jeremy and Jim. He's like a lot of us, though. He's learning YouTube. He's trying to figure that out as he goes. He also likes Jeeps, and he's made some beautiful saw blades. He was nice enough to actually make one of these for me and my Jeep with Mr. and Mrs. Claus there on it. So without any further ado, we'll bring Duane on here from Crafty Creations. Well, hello, Duane.
Oh, what's up, Chris? What's up?
How are you
Hello,
today?
everybody.
So you doing okay?
Pretty good.
Good. So, but
A very long weekend.
very long weekend. So yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, I've had one of those full weeks too. So, but anyway, we appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. And
Anytime, pleasure.
But the thing is you know, we start at the very beginning. So where did you grow up? Where were you born?
I was born in Galax, Virginia. At a very early age, we moved to I think it was around Dobson area. I've always been kind of within probably an hour area, I guess, where I'm at now.
Right.
But back, I guess when I was in 3rd grade, we moved to my mom and her second husband bought a place up here in Wilkes County, and when she moved up here, we've been here pretty much ever since. And
So how old were you when that happened?
let's see here. That was between get that right. I think it was the summer between my 2nd and 3rd grade year.
So and lived there ever since, huh?
Yeah.
So,
Mama's house is right next door. And then, of course, when me and Maria got married, we ended up putting a house up right above her, and we've been here since 1998.
So, look, you want to tell a little bit about what your parents, as far as is growing up? You said you'd moved.
My dad and mom split up when I really don't remember that much. My sister was older than me. I think she's 8.5 years older than I am, somewhere around there. And so she knew more. I was kind of raised by her for a long time because Mama was working all the time, and then she met her second husband, and right. Of course they got into restaurant work, and
yeah, we get into that.
Basically from the time I was probably I'm gonna say 5 or 6, maybe. That's what I remember the most. There was a short period of time between the first restaurant they had and they got out of it for a while. And then when we moved to where we're at now, they got back into it. And I was there from probably, I think my last days of that was shortly after I turned 16. And
So tell everybody, because I already know. So this is information for everybody else. What kind of restaurant did they own?
they owned a seafood restaurant, and which, now don't get me wrong, I loved it. And well, y'all seen my live, so I mean, I like to talk, so that's probably where a lot of that came from. I love talking to people in general. I think the older I get, you see that where people, it's like, you get kind of grumpy. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people I just don't want to talk to.
Right.
But, it's just, I think that's the generational thing that we're going through now. But it's just, I love it. And, being on here with you all and meeting everybody, this is just great.
Yeah. Speaking of everybody, we've got several people on. Chris Gallagher's here, and I see Kevin's here, and Mike's here, and Jim, and I saw Jack in the shop a few minutes ago. So
yep. And I seen Chuck and Kevin was in here. There's Kevin.
So we
Greg's
appreciate
here. What's up, Greg? And I ain't backwards, I promise. See?
Yeah, he just showed me this. He's got it fixed, ladies and gentlemen. If you know what we're talking about, his camera is finally fixed. It's not backwards.
But now Greg told me I'm gonna have to fix him a normal hat patch now. So,
so wait, you talked about you pretty much grew up in where you live at now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and what was high school like for you at that time and all?
Well, that was right there in that range where I think let's see here. I'm trying to get my years right. We owned a restaurant that's not too far. Well, used to be not too far from us right here. And we had it from a time I was like, I want to say around 10, 8, 9, 10 years old. And then there for a little while, we had a second restaurant in East Bend. And we had it for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And it was a lot bigger. And, so I got a lot of training on working with the public, and some people, you love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Well, and that can go 50-50. You can love it and hate it.
Yeah, that's right.
But because that's the whole thing. When you're dealing with people's food, that's a whole different kind of.
Yeah, and people are very particular.
Yes.
And they've come into your restaurant, which you cook a certain way, and then they critique what you've cooked. So I'll be the first to admit I can't boil water. I can grill all day long, but as far as putting a meal together, thank goodness for Mrs. Claus, because I can't. I'm not that.
I learned a lot from my mom. My mom was a lot like my grandma.
Yeah.
It was, you set your jars out on the bar. And, she might have a cup for her flour and some odd and end things like that. But for the most part, when it comes to the seasons, it's a dash of this and a handful of that and, a sprinkle here. And then you might let it cook for a little bit, taste it. And then there's a few more things that go in. And, that's the way I was raised. And sometimes that drives Maria absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Because I'll fix something because she can't repeat it. If she wants it.
Yeah, Tracy does the same thing. She'll make something and I'll be like, boy, that's good. How'd you make it? I don't know. So
I started about, I think it was a year ago, maybe. No, I think it was towards the end of Taylor's freshman year. I started fixing this little dish called Korean beef, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever fixed the ingredients for that the exact same, not one single time.
Right.
And it always ends up coming out. All of them love it. So
Yeah, but you've got that background though. You working in the restaurants, you have a feel for it. So I can understand from that perspective because it's like the people that go to college and learn all that culinary type thing. They eventually get to the point where they're just doing it naturally. They're not even measuring most of the time, and if they do measure, it's just they pour and they're not even looking, and then turn around and they've got whatever the measurement was. So.
Marie always likes it when, which we haven't done it in a while. We used to do. Me and her might go to the grocery store and we might buy $100 worth of sandwich stuff. It could be all different kinds of meats. It could be all different kinds of whatever and different breads. And it might last us 3 nights, but we may end up fixing 3 nights of just whatever kind of sandwiches we want to throw together and try and experiment with. And don't get me wrong, some of them get tossed outside. But there's also a lot that's, hey.
Yeah. Well, several people think you've got your camera straight, but you didn't get totally fixed from being backwards because several of them are looking at your hat there. So.
I don't think I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever worn my hat forwards.
Forward.
Well, and that comes from, that leads into my next adventure of when me and Maria got married. Let's see here. 98, September 5th of 1998. And we had met on January 1st at 11 o'clock in 1995. She picked me up off the side of the street.
All right, there sounds like a story there too. So,
well, if anybody's from around the area, or and even a big portion, a lot of people on the East Coast used to know it. Elkin, North Carolina, used to be a big cruising town. Downtown Elkin, you could come here on a Saturday or Sunday night, especially Sundays, and it might take you 2.5 hours to go around the downtown and the back strip, maybe twice.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be thousands of people in here. And I had a crush on her for probably 6 months. Never knew who she was. I just seen her in the car. Every once in a while, she would show up. And then one night, I had got off the truck. I was riding on, and I was walking up the side of the street, and a buddy of mine was beside of me. And I said, I looked over at this car, and I was sitting there, and he was like, who you talking to? And I looked over, and I just done this right here. And that's all. I never said nothing. Anyways, I went and got in the car with her. We've been together ever since. So
yeah, good thing you jumped in the car then. So so that kind of leads to your high school days as far as going through. You talking about that, and then once you got done with, did you play any sports or anything while you were in high school?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't. I basically, when I got out of school, I went home, done my studies, and then by 6 o'clock, I was working. And the only time we had off was usually we closed early on Sundays, and then we was off on Mondays, but the rest of the time I would come in, and a lot of the time after probably say 9th grade, I would come in. They may go home early. I would close. And so usually, depending on what restaurant I was at, it could be 10 o'clock when I got out. It could be 1 o'clock when I got out. And, and I finished up through.
Didn't really have time to do anything else other than that. I understand.
I wished I would. That's why I'm so big with the kids doing what they do.
Right. Yeah. And I can understand that. So Greg's got you a new venture there that you can do. Start selling hats with the bill cut off backward style. So you can. So after high school, did you go into college, military? Did you go right to work, or what did you do at that point?
I pretty much went to work, and I probably done. Me and you probably ain't got fingers and toes of how many different jobs I tried.
Yeah.
But because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
Being stuck in that for so long and not being able to do anything else for a real long time, I just never had the chance to do anything. And I mean, me and Maria got married. I worked in, let's see here, I worked for a Bush Grand National team for a year. Um, I worked with some buddies of mine doing body work and paint work for about 2 or 3 years. And then I bounced around to just meaningless jobs here and there, waiting to find something. And then I think I started up to the college for the diesel program. And that kind of led me into, I was taking a course where I was setting up rear ends and stuff like that, and for trucks. And then some of the small stuff for class, we got to set up rear ends for like race cars and normal vehicles and stuff like that. And then I kind of got interested in that. So I kind of veered away from the diesel side of things and started going more towards normal vehicle type stuff. And then lo and behold, I got in, me and some buddies of mine were real big into four wheeling. So that kind of pushed me towards setting up gears on things. And then I started getting into building roll cages and bumpers. And me and my stepdad put the building that we have here beside the house. It's a 34 by 56 garage that's kind of split up into different areas, but it doesn't have heat and air because I done metal work. So I never really worried about keeping it climate control.
Right.
I still didn't care.
Yeah.
And so that's an adventure I'm hopefully to tackle and make some decisions on before long, because I do enjoy wood turning and some of that stuff. But going back to the Jeep stuff, I done it for off and on for a while. I ended up hurting my back, and I worked by myself. So it was either spend an insanely amount of money for stuff that I didn't know if I could recoup the cost from, because I didn't know how business was going to be, or kind of get out of that. And so that's when, let's see here, I think that was kind of roughly in the time frame right before that's when we went into the foster program. Yeah, went into the foster program, and we fostered Skylar and Taylor for 2.5 years, and it became official. Taylor was 7 months old. Skylar was 2 years and 3 months old.
Yeah, well, I can vouch for the kids. They're very good kids. He's done a great job with them. So they're very well mannered and that kind of thing too. So, but Jim here is saying, don't you need hills for four wheeling? Well, you can come on up to the North Carolina mountains and we'll take you four wheeling one day. So even our
mountains ain't quite as big as the Rockies. I'll give credit.
They're not.
But yeah,
you got that red clay mud. Come fly around in that for a little while.
And the humidity.
Yeah, that's true too. So, but so I get, was Jeeps kind of your passion there for a while, or was it just something you kind of fell into? Because I'll be honest, I've had my Jeep now a little over 2 years, and I absolutely love that thing. And I've pretty much told my wife from now on we're going to own a Jeep. Because, well, Duane even knows we rode all the way from here to the Outer Banks with the top off and the doors off. And 90% of the time living here, that's the way I'm riding around. So,
well, let's see here. I started out with a two-door Toyota Tacoma. And at the time, I wasn't four-wheeling at the time, but I would go. I was young and stupid, so I would go play in mud holes and stuff like that. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting rid of it. And let's see here. I bought let's come first. Yes, I bought a 1976 International Scout 2.
Yeah, International Scout.
That was probably that's one I do regret getting rid of. I wished I
It
would have
rusts
kept
away
it.
on you, so that's a good thing because most of those scouts rust away.
Yeah. Well, now don't get me wrong. This one was rusty.
Yeah.
When I ended up doing some modifications to it, I guess somebody at the factory thought it would be funny because they love pistachios because both of my rocker panels was completely stuffed full of pistachios. And there was only one way that those got put in there, and they were still the factory rocker panels.
Rocker Painters.
So I know they had to have come from the factory, but they were slapped full of pistachios. But I had that, and then I was working at an electrical supply house, and I ended up having some health issues, and I got pulled out for probably 6 months, maybe. And while I was out, it wasn't. I wasn't down to where I couldn't work around the house or do stuff like that. So
Right.
I started messing in the shop, and I bought a Bear Jeep frame. And one of the very first Jeeps I had, I built from literally a Bear frame.
Right.
It was titled as a 1994 Jeep Wranglers with square headlights, and I built it up. It had 6-cylinder Granny 4-speed, 1-ton Granny 4-speed transfer case, 3/4 ton axles, big tires. Had a blast with it. I learned a lot. Learned a lot of stuff that I didn't need to do, and then and that's kind of where the shop come into play, and that was kind of the time that the diesel program was going on, and then Maria decided she wanted to buy a Jeep. Well, I take that back. She did have a I think it was 1995 square headlight Jeep for probably about a year when we first got married. And then after she got rid of it, we didn't have one for a little while. And that's when I ended up building that one. And then she wanted another one. So we got a 1999 black TJ. And of course, it was a 4-cylinder 5-speed. And then let's see here. I put a lift with 33s on it. And then it went to I pulled the 4-cylinder out, swapped in a 5.2 Magnum motor out of Dodge Dakota with an automatic, and put 35s on it. And then from there, it went to I ended up building custom suspension front and rear. I extended the wheelbase from 94 inches factory to 101, I think. And I ended up running 37s. I built custom axles for it. And the last time I had that Jeep with 37s on it, I could run probably 80 miles an hour on 77, hold 2 fingers on the steering wheel.
That's nice.
And there was a buddy of mine that helped me go through. Me and him spent hours upon hours going through. Me and him was on the phone with each other. He drove a truck, so he knew a lot of people out west. And me and him ended up building something and it ended up being just a perfect Jeep. And I miss it. I do. That's probably one of the vehicles I do miss. I got rid of because it went through 2 or 3, 4 people after me, and last time I heard it wasn't a good thing. So,
so you have a crafted side. Where do you remember where that kind of started? I mean, you were talking about you were in a restaurant. Were you doing that when you were a kid and then progressed along, or how did your crafting start as far as the Jeeps and stuff? And then we'll go into what was your first craft after that.
There was a time with my mom's second husband that we wasn't into restaurant stuff at the time. He worked at a furniture factory. Mom had done alterations at a store in Elkin. And there was a time that I don't necessarily think we actually had anything specific that we done, as much as the fact that the house that Mama lived in, I think we were sitting in our house in Mountain Park when they decided to buy this property up here. Mama drew the plans to that house that she lives in now out on a piece of paper, and that's what it was built from. And back then, it was dirt roads. Everybody was neighborly. Everybody, everybody helped everybody. And, it was, like I said, it wasn't really a specific thing that got me into crafting or woodworking. I guess I pull some of that from Mama because all of her alteration skills, because she built, or she not built, she made hundreds of dresses. I'll be honest with you, growing up as a kid, I don't think I had a store-bought outfit for the first 8 years of my life.
Right.
It was always something that Mama made or something like that. But
and that's another art that's been lost, really.
Oh yeah, it is. But no, let's see here. I honestly couldn't tell you anybody that does alterations around here.
Well, when I lost the weight, there's 2 or 3 places down here for my Santa suit and stuff. But even those we're talking about, that they've tried to get other people to come in and stuff, and nobody wants to do it anymore.
No, and that right there is, and I think Mama would still have been doing it if her hands hadn't have got to the point to where she just couldn't
do it anymore.
And I mean, you could really see the carpal. I don't want to really call it carpal tunnel. It wasn't carpal. It was arthritis and stuff. And now she's got to her point where her hands just
curled up.
Yep. But she loved it. I mean, she made, matter of fact, my sister's very first wedding dress. She made it out of Japanese silk. And I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Then my sister, things were tight for me and Maria when we first got together and was getting married. And, so we done everything in our power to save as much money on the wedding as we could. And so my sister gave her that wedding dress, and Mama completely tore it apart down to just a couple of panels and completely built Maria's wedding dress. And, I think we had $256 in our entire wedding. And most of that, I think 80% of that was rings and my tuxedo rental.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it sounds like me and Tracy, when we first got together, we had the same kind of thing, paid for our entire wedding and all that kind of stuff. So, money was tight. She made our wedding cake, which it was absolutely beautiful. So we totally understand that. So,
well, that was my grandma, on my dad's side. She always made cakes. Ever since before I was born, she was always making cakes, and she made a bunch of wedding cakes for people and everything. And then she made the wedding cake for us. Then I think I could probably tell you half the guests probably showed up with, I wouldn't call it a potluck, but it was just everybody brought a dish and it was set up. And one of Maria's best friends at the time, his uncle owned a house. I don't know if you really want to call it a summer house. They didn't stay in it a whole lot, but it was right off the parkway up kind of between 18 and 21. And so we got to stay up there, or we got to do the wedding up there outside. And then my sister had, I think she had a timeshare at the time, and we ended up doing, she gave us a week, I think in the Poconos. Yeah. We went to the Poconos for an hour, for a week, and we had a blast. I mean, it was just like I said, that goes back to the whole thing. Everybody used to enjoy helping everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. We don't have that like we used to. So and
And
I don't know if you've been paying attention to the chat, but everybody has made me extremely hungry right now with all
yeah,
that.
well, I'm trying to ignore
override. So Jack started it all, I think.
Jack probably got everything started, and I'm trying to. I keep seeing rubs and
Yeah.
chicken and
So.
yeah. I'm trying to kind of veer away from that because I know here in a little while the only thing I'm gonna be stuck with is a frozen pizza.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna have a pimento cheese sandwich when I get out of here in a little while. So.
That sounds pretty good too.
Oh, it's good. It's good. But
I miss some good homemade pimento cheese.
oh yeah. So you were doing your Jeeps and all that. What got you started into this crazy rabbit hole we're all in? What was the first craft that you looked at and you said, I've got to do that?
Let's see here. I think, well, I got into wood turning, and now for whatever reason, there was no backstory to that. There's no reason or anything that got me into that. My stepdad, you know, he piddled with stuff in the shop, and done little wood frames and picture frames and done stuff around the house. And of course, you know, me and him, my stepdad, he's Mama's husband now, which he's might as well be my dad too. But he's always done stuff around the house, and he's always helped me here when he can. And so that was it. Kind of really morphed into the fact of wood turning to me was, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's people that makes the table legs, chair legs, stuff like that. It is the functional side of things, but what got me into that was the amazing bowls. It was the art of what you could bring that wood out to be.
Well, the one thing I'll say about wood turning, because that's kind of where I started too, a little bit. Wood turning for me was I could take a piece of wood, and even if I just turned a cylinder, I went from a square piece of wood to a cylinder. I was actually able to create something by the time I got done. Yep. Whereas if you build something and you get it messed up, then you've got it, you know, it's all crooked and all that, and you've not really created anything. And that was my fun, was the ability to go in there. I love turning pins and stuff, but that doesn't take any time at all, really.
No.
But at the same time, you can be very artistic because you're using such a small pieces of wood.
I know a lot of people got into pin. I think a lot of people always got into turning with pins because, of course, the equipment was smaller,
right?
And so on and so forth. But that's just never been me. I've always went in for the big stuff, and then I end up coming down to the little things. So it was one of those where we had so much wood back here around the house. Danny was always cutting firewood and stuff. And one of the first things I think I turned was, the first bowl I ever turned, Maria won't, as ugly as that thing is, she won't get rid of it. It was a cedar bowl. It was mostly sapwood on the outside, and it's ugly as homemade, I'll get out. But that was my first one. She kept it.
Yep.
But there was we had some trees, and I think I remember somebody saying that they was considered invasive, but it's called a princess tree. Is one of the names for it anyways. It's got those big wide, honestly it's an ugly tree to look at it when it's growing, but Danny had some pieces cut up out back in the woodshed. So I went out there one day and I was looking through it, and I thought, well, that don't look like a half bad piece of wood. So I went in there, started turning it, and the colors almost remind me of fudge ripple ice cream.
Yeah.
And I have turned probably 3 or 4 pieces, and every single one of those pieces has went in my mom's house because she absolutely loves that color wood. or that particular kind, and she's probably gotten 3 or 4 pieces of that. So,
Well, yeah, I had the same. Tracy has about 2/3 of what I turned when I started, and it's all in a display case over there. And the first bowl that I ever turned was, like you said, usually it's in cedar. Most of the people start with cedar because it's a soft wood. You can get a good cut on it, and it's good and smooth. And I have got from the inside of the bowl to the bottom is probably a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick, because I never went down far enough because I was afraid I was going to go all the way through it. And so I brought that in, and I figured it was going to warp, but it is so thick that even when it continued to dry, it never warped. And so it's in there to this day. Now it's got a little bit of a live edge on it, so it's kind of cute. But I mean, it's just like, honey,
that was like that cedar one of mine. The bottom of it is like, it comes down and kind of almost like a stubby vase look, but it's got the bottom of it's probably that thick. And then where I went in, and I kept being afraid of where I was going to go out with. I think my walls are like 1/4 of an inch thick, but it gets down to the bottom of it, and it's like that thick.
Yeah, so that's the learning curve you get when you do wood turning. So,
and I love it. I mean, it's just that was, and that's why I've never. That's something I still yet have not videoed, because that has been my one go-to. That if I want to go, put some earbuds in, face mask on, turn the machines on, and I can disappear. That's the one thing I can probably do. And
yeah, well, I'll tell one other little wood turning. A friend of mine had got some pin oak, and I don't know if you know how hard pin oak is, but I had high-speed steel tools. And I so ruined every one of those tools to turn and make a bowl out of that thing. Now, I will tell you this, though. It was absolutely beautiful when I got done with it. But I didn't have a 2-1 that didn't have to be sharpened when I got finished. And they were sharpened several times after that. But then I started getting into the carbides and all that as well. So
I went to a buddy of mine's house one day, and me and him's been friends since I moved up here, I guess. And he lives in his grandma's house, and right out in front of that house there is I didn't know what kind of tree it was. The only thing I know is I was over there one day, and there was a stack of wood that had been sitting there, and it looked like it was about rotten. Well, I picked a piece of it up, and dude, it was like picking up a 5-gallon bucket of water. And I was like, what is this? He was sitting there, he said, come off that tree right there. He said, my grandpa had it. Or he said, when grandma was still alive and living here, my dad had somebody come out, and they tried to trim it back to the point where they was hoping it was going to die. But it ended up, come to find out, it was black locust. And the base of that tree is like 4 foot in diameter. It's huge.
Yep.
And it's because it was a tree in the yard. So, I mean, of course, but I brought it to the house, put it in the shop, and it sat there for probably 2 or 3 months before I'd touch it. I mean, it was ugly. It looked like it was just rotten, nasty wood. So I'm sitting there, and I decided to cut it up, and dude, that was the brightest yellow of a wood I've ever seen in my life. And there's no color. There's no making it any brighter. I mean, it was just as bright yellow as you can get.
It's almost like a neon banana.
Yes. And to be as heavy, and it's kind of grain. It reminds me kind of like, I guess you would say oak, red oak, maybe. It's a thicker grain. It's not really fine grain wood, but it turned like butter.
Yeah. I
had some carbide tools down there, and it turned, and I made a couple of bowls. I've got another piece in there, but now it's aged a little bit. It kind of oranges and browns up a little, but it's still pretty stuff.
Yeah. I was going to answer, Chris. Yeah, we were before our times making the anti-tip bowls when we were doing wood turning to begin with. That's what the big base on the bottom's for. But So how did you get from wood turning into your first machine? Was it the lasers? Was it 3D printer? What was it at that
I
point?
bought a I bought the Acer. I was watching some videos on YouTube, and of course, YouTube's where all my wife blames everything that I do now on YouTube. So a lot of my adventures started with YouTube, and
Mhm.
that led me to watching a couple of people that had lasers, and I looked at some of them, and at the time, I think it lasted a month, and it was the hot thing, and I ordered one of the 8s or 36-watt open frames. And I went ahead and ordered the extended frames with it because I knew there was going to be pieces that I wanted that eventually do that would be bigger. So I ended up having a workspace of like 700 by 500 millimeters. And so that's where it kind of all began. And I done that for a while. I made a few trinkets here and there. Then Maria decided, well, let's do some ornaments and stuff. Maybe go to a couple of craft shows and this and that and other. So that kind of led into, well, I want to do acrylic. Well, of course, all the acrylic that I wanted to do, I'm not going to be able to cut with a blue diode.
Right.
So I thought, well, I'll start looking around. And a couple of years ago, I ended up buying that one, the Monport 60, like yours.
Mhm.
And so I got into doing a bunch of stuff with it, and one thing led to another. And of course, there's a bunch of rabbit holes you go down. So I started watching Rich. I learned probably, I want to say, starting out, the first 75% of stuff I learned was probably watching Rich's videos on
Mhm.
Lightburn and doing stuff like that. So I don't want to sit here and say I've had a multitude of screw ups, and I do it every day, but he limited that multitude of screw ups from being a bucket full or from being a dump truck load full to a bucket.
Yeah.
So
Did you have any prior design, computer design of any kind? Had you done any of that with any of your Jeeps or anything? So that Lightburn lessons you were learning was your first time doing that?
well, I take that back. I can't remember the name of the software now. I did use a little bit of it was for my roll cages and stuff that I would go in and set some certain things up, but I was just doing like individual tubes. It wasn't like I was building the entire roll cage, putting it together on the computer, and then having each one I could pull up that spot and say, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't never that.
Yeah. You weren't doing a full on design.
No, I mean, besides when I went to Lightburn, it was basically from pen and paper to Lightburn.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, anybody that's getting into it, I was dumb as a box of rocks when it come to trying to figure out design software. And Lightburn let me do it and help me do it. That was a no-brainer, and it still does today.
And most of these software companies or these manufacturers are trying to get that way. Xtool with their XCS and Lightburn with it, and so and just like Milmage is coming out, and Jack and Shop's been doing a lot of that, and I've been looking at it because my background comes from Fusion, and so I can't afford the Fusion to start running my CNC with, so I'm looking into the Lightburn because it's going to be hard to start without something really good, and I like the fact that their pros is apparently going to be about $200, so I figure that's going to be my first.
And I think Jack said that the other night. He's like, if you've already spent the money and you've got VCarve or Vectric or whichever one he was talking about at the time, it's hard to say, okay, spend that extra $200 and go to Lightburn.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I would sit there and say I would or not, but if you're doing what kind of like what I did, getting into lasers, I think you'd be crazy not to. Because I think Lightburn is going to do everything in their power to. They may not be the best at like something, but they're going to be 80 to 90% there.
Well, the one thing that I like right off of the bat is most of us who are doing lasers are using some form of light burn or have or whatever. And to be able to take those designs that I already have and to take them over into the milmage side. Now I may have to, extrude them and all these other things to make it a 3D type model, but I've already got the design pretty much laid out. I'm just now making it to where it's in milmage. So that's appealing to me right now. So, but I put this up a minute ago, and Chuck, you're right. I mean, wood has to talk to you, and even with us doing lasers and stuff, we look at a sheet of paper and we've got to figure out, hey, what are we going to make out of this? What are we going to do with it? So,
I guess with me, when it comes to the wood turning, and you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter whatever you do to enjoy, kind of like what wood turning does for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that can make some of the prettiest pieces of furniture I've ever seen, and that does the same for them.
Mm-hmm.
They see what they see it. They see the end product, and then they figure out how to get there. Well,
right.
Now that's the one difference I will sit here and say for me, anyways. I know when I look at a piece of wood, I've got an idea of what I'm looking for out of that piece of wood, but there's a 50% chance that it's not going to end up being there.
Yeah.
It's going to go somewhere else because I'm going to see, once I get into it and you see the grain, and then because that's the one thing, you never know what that grain's going to be in the middle.
Yeah.
And wood turning, you can take what would be a furniture maker's nightmare, and that's what I love because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and you take a burl or something like that and turn it, and you have no idea what's coming out of there when you finally get done. But
regardless, that's a one of a kind piece that nobody will ever have.
So yeah, Greg, I actually got the fiber fixed at about 10 o'clock this morning. I put up a little photo showing if you've never seen how small a fiber cable actually is, it brings fiber to your house. If you have it, you need to go on my Facebook page and see that photo because it is hair thin. And I was rather shocked that amount of information and stuff flows through such a small fiber. Now it's just a piece of glass and it runs through there at, the speed of light. So, but anyway, that was pretty amazing to me. So, so you got your lasers going now, and then did you go to 3D printing after that, or?
Let's see here. I ended up, my son wanted to do, of course, it's the typical start of 3D printing. You see all the little fidget toys and this and that and other, and he was wanting to play with some of that. And I happened to be online on, of course, Amazon and YouTube is notoriously going to be the end of me, but or possibly the end of my marriage anyways.
At least you're self-aware. I mean, come on.
But it was, I think it was the Anchor Mate M5C. It's got that little 220 by 220 bed. It was dirt cheap at the time. It was on sale. And I thought, okay, hey, let's get it. And if, he'll use it and he may get tired of it, just like video games or this and that and other. So we messed around, and then dadgum if I didn't end up getting into it. And I started playing around. Then I started seeing people doing different colors. And I'm like, well, I want one of those. So I ended up buying that Anycubic, the Cobra 3 V2. And so that led me down that rabbit hole. And now between you, Jack started it. Now you've done it. And I think Three Dogs has got one. I want a U1 because
they're nice. Well,
and the thing about it is a lot of that has come from the fact of people I've seen some of the photos that I've done of the little light box, some little keychains and stuff, and I know I can do that, but I feel like if I'm going to do those little keychains that are 50 millimeters, and I end up wasting twice as much filament than what, or even more than that, than what could make one of those. I can't make myself do it. So I told Maria the other day, I said, one way or another, I've got to get something like that one or one in that realm so I don't waste the money.
Well, as you know, they're coming out. I saw 8 head the other day. That's starting to come out, so it's going to be crazy over the next.
There's a 6
years.
head. I think Infomec or something like that they got a 6 head, and then they've got that 8 head coming out that's enclosed. Light Make's got one. Soval's, matter of fact, their Kickstarter on that big, I think it's a single head by itself, and then it's got 6 colors running on the other one. It starts tomorrow. I believe me, I've been keeping my eyes open, and that's just.
Well, the thing that got me, and like you said, Jack started it all really because he was the one that kind of
blame Jack for a lot of stuff.
Jack's got to slow down a little bit. He must have more money than some of us do because he's always putting something else up there we all need. So, but he watching him use the U1, and I said it one time before. I was looking at the Creator 5 as well. But my problem with the Creator 5 is it was just dumping on the floor when it would purge. And I didn't like the idea of it doing that because I could just see it end up in the print or, doing something screwy. And I that's why I ended up going to U1. Now, I will tell you, once you get it, and I printed for almost a week of different things for stuff coming up. And to the end of that week, I bet I had maybe half a hand full of actual purge that had come out of there. So, but other people pay for your toys. Well, I would like for other people to do that. I would, if anybody would like to have a review or anything, I would be more than glad to do that, and I think Duane would too. So, but
well, my biggest I got my 3D printer. And I started playing with it, and it kind of fell off a little bit because I was still learning stuff with light burn. I was doing laser stuff, and then I kind of had a squirrel moment. And I've had a lot of squirrel moments, but it went over to, and of course, that's how my daughter gets it, honestly.
Right.
But the more I watched Rich, and then they started the LMR, and I was watching it all the time. Watching him and Patrick and Jeremy, and I started really paying attention to what Patrick was doing with fiber laser, and I knew there was stuff that I wanted to do with metal. Hands down, that was if I had to sell a lot of the stuff that I had or whatever, I was going to have a fiber laser at one point or another. So. I think Patrick put it out one time and said something. He said, "What about me doing a Zoom with the patrons?" And I was like, "Hey, that'd be great." So I ended up getting on there with him one day, and I think it was me and him and one or two other guys, and got to talking back and forth. And Patrick's like, "Well," and I said something about wanting one. He's sitting there, and he said, "Well, you just need to come up here and buy mine." He said, "I've got one that I'm getting ready to get rid of." And, or he said, "I'm thinking about getting rid of." And so little things went back and forth. And I'd hit him up and I said, "Are you being serious about that one day?" He's sitting there. He said, "Yeah." He said, "You just tell me when." He said, "I'll get everything set up." So me and Skylar hopped in the Suburban one day and took off, or one evening took off, went up. I spent the night in West Virginia close to him, and met him the next morning. Next thing you know, I've got the Monport 60 right there, and that your saw blade and many, many others have been run through that one since I've had it. And I'll probably burn her until she burns up, and I have to do another one, have a Jack moment and Jim moment and just go ahead and bump it up to 100 watt.
Yeah. That's the next thing that Jack's been pushing indirectly when he's on these shows.
Well,
but
I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I would ever really want to get rid of my 60.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to keep my 60 and go ahead and do like a 200 because there is jewelry stuff that I would love to make. It can be done with the 60. I'm not saying it can't, but the 200, of course, and the 100, 200 is going to do it quicker.
Yeah.
And it would be nicer. But the fiber was my next one.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll be honest with you, that's kind of where the standstill of me dancing around everything. There's Mr. Rich. How you doing, Rich?
Hey, Rich.
And so it was, okay. Now the beast that I've got, or what did the Boojin or whatever Jeremy named it, the 60-watt CO2 Galvo,
Yeah.
that ended up falling in my lap a little bit. And because for whatever reason, I don't know why, but my gantry over there, I can't run I can't get it out of the point of it home. It won't home.
Yeah, and me and you talked about it, and I dropped the ball on that. We need to talk later and see if I can figure it out for you.
And I'm eventually going to fix it, but I'll be honest with you,
You got to
use it for now. It's not even it's a workaround, and I'm starting to play with this CO2 Galvo, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think it would ever bother me to not worry about getting it fixed. I mean, honestly, I would be at a point to where I would put 100-watt glass tube in it, or put or just sell it and do an RF tube style CO2 later versus anything else, because that's been another idea for me, is worrying about if I put a shop up here and I lose power and I'm away or something like that, my glass tube busted, or so on and so forth. That would be the plus side about having a RF style tube.
Have a good week there, Santa Alan. So, but let's get into the YouTube part. How did you drop into YouTube? What got you started in that?
That was probably about, let's see here. Matter of fact, that same Zoom call we was having with Patrick, and I was sitting there, it was kind of one of those like, do I want to do it? Why not? I'm always watching YouTube, so why not get on there and see what it's like? And of course, Patrick's sitting there. He's like, dude, just grab your camera and do it. He's like, don't worry about it. And of course, things fell to the side, and I was doing other things. And then I ended up talking to Jeremy, I think. Can't remember how all that kind of rolled about. And I ended up being on the show with Jeremy and Jim. And now that was just a short while ago. And this has really turned into a snowball.
Yep.
I mean, a big, fast, barreling down the hill, no trees going to stop it kind of snowball that just won't quit.
Right.
And it's just went from there. And then, of course, doing that with them, and then it was like I get on and Jack would be hanging around. And of course, Jack gets on there, and of course he gives me those hold my beer moments where like, well, I'll be on here as long as you want to be on here.
Yeah.
And, of course, Jim, he's in Idaho, so he's 2 hours behind. It's like, I can hang out all night long.
Yeah.
Well, dude, you're 2 hours behind us. Of course, all night long to you, you're still going to get in bed before 11.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, it's just one of those things. But hands down, I cannot say nothing but the people that I've met doing this, all of you all, Rich, Jeremy, Jim, you, all the people that's been showing up in chats, and the love that they give us and all the stuff, and, trying to get us going, and, watching Clack and Steve from Venturi and all them boys. It's just been, this is, I think you said it one time before, the laser community I will still say is different than, for our little technology side of things, because I see this same kind of grouping in the wood turners, stuff like that. Everybody supports one another. 3D printing,
Yeah.
it kind of has it. For the most part, I've met good people in there, but I've also seen some. It can go weary pretty quick. But the community that we've and it's like I've said it 100 times. I don't care if my channel ever grows, as long as I can get on here and we can meet people, we can talk to people. If I can help one person, that makes a difference. If it's just the fact of getting on and making somebody laugh, and have a good time, that's it. I mean, that's the good thing.
So, got a quick. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Asking if the RF's going to push the glass tube out. I don't think that the glass tube versus RF. I don't think it's actually going to push it out at all.
I think they're going to work side by side. I mean,
I think the RF is if you need a little more detail versus a glass tube, but I think that the glass tube has its market there too. So, but
I'll be honest with you, I love my glass tube for cutting. I love the gantry side, and the simple fact of it is it's there. I mean, it's right behind me when I need it.
Yep.
And I need something cut, it's there. The only thing that I will have to say, that's one that I will, because of the money being a lot cheaper, that will be one of my first upgrades to it, is going to a 90-watt tube.
Mm-hmm.
Just so I can. I say that because I've got people that want me to make things that are bigger or thicker material that I can't handle right now. And I want to be able to have that clean cut on, like a good clean cut up to like 1/2 inch.
Right.
And have that. But I'll be honest with you, I guess my next deal's, and of course, I mean, it's not, and I can't even sit here and say I can blame this on Jack, even though I could from watching this. But I would love to have a 4 foot by 4 foot eventually CNC, so I can do pretty much any sign that I would want to do. Because I do have people asking me if I can do some of that stuff. It's that big, and I don't know if I could or not.
So Chris was saying that, generally 3D is more competitive than the laser, and CNC's being more cooperative. And I would agree to that as far as what you see people say on chats and stuff like that. So, but what's been your most frustrating part of your venture so far?
Let's see here. Frustrating. It is frustrating as far as working with trying to figure out sales. Because going back to what you just said right then, there is such a market for 3D printing stuff. There's so many people doing laser stuff. Which now, granted, I'm going to say, I think I heard, and I don't know where I heard somebody say this the other day, maybe in last week. I don't know if it was on one of our live streams or one that I was watching, but you're going to have people that sat through COVID, and this was an outlet to make a little extra money. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of them are going back to work because they don't want to deal with everything that comes along with it. Trying to find that what's going to be that good selling item, what's going to be this, and for if I was strictly concentrating on craft show stuff, that's the one thing I'm trying to make myself get away from a little bit, and try to start getting the courage up to go a little more business to business, figuring out in my head, and all of it is in my head. It's me being scared of getting told no, and I've got to get past that. because this is something. I mean, when you're doing something and you're putting everything into it, and then you sit here and it's like, and then people tell you it's like, well, that's ugly, I wouldn't buy that, or that's this or whatever, and it's like, honestly, it's like a kick in the gut, and
Yeah.
sometimes it hurts. But for the most part, that's been, and I don't know if that still won't always be my most frustrating thing, is just being able to figure out what sells, what people want, and so on and so forth.
I would say that anybody's on the chat, or myself, or anybody who's done that, because as most of you know, I live in a tourist area, and it can be hit and miss, and I don't think that there's going to be ever one specific thing. Like your saw blades right now, they'll probably sell like hotcakes for a while, and then all of a sudden it's like the light turns out, and you're constantly having to develop. Now, in my case, I've got specific stuff that'll have Atlantic Beach on it. Well, I can only use that at certain times. The rest of the time it has to be put away. If I'm in New Bern doing something, I've got my New Bern things that I can put out, and then those got to be put away. So you're constantly playing that battle of what do you do? And and just like Ed said here, people trying to cut your price is another thing. And the one thing I had, I do some bottles that have the little lid that will take and lock down. And I had several of them at a craft show, and a guy come up and he was talking to him, and he says, well, I can get those at $2 a piece. And he said it 2 or 3 times. And I'm not one to usually be, Chris Waters versus Santa, but this was one of those times that I finally said, well, if you can get it for $2, go get it for $2. This is what, and you have to be that way sometimes. You just have to, you're not going to sell it anyway. So you just have to,
that goes back to, and I think I've heard, I don't want to drop a name that didn't say it or whatever, but I think there's at a point where, and it's something I'm really starting to learn. I love looking at Etsy to get ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I even may buy files from some people, because I don't have the knowledge in my head to build that specific thing that I want, or I think could sell around here, or I know somebody that wants something like that can sell. I have no problem paying somebody for their work.
No.
Because to me, that designer is doing no different than what we are, except he's just building that digital file. But that being said, you've got to find somebody, and if you can buy a piece of their work and you pull it into a thing, if their work is good and it gives you a good clean engrave and so on and so forth, that's great. But there's a whole lot of people. I mean, Rich, hands down, Rich has probably been stolen from for so many years on all the work that he's done and everything else. And I wished I could have went in and bought a bunch of his stuff before it got sent through 15,000 other people that does the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't try to do that. That's the one reason where with me and my saw blades, yes, the designs that I have made just out of the air is stuff that I'm sitting here thinking about, and it goes back to my buddies that work on cars or paint cars, or or something to that effect. I hear Maria say something like, one of them with Highland cows on it would be pretty. Well, there's one hanging over here on the wall right now that'll go up for sale as soon as I put some stuff together. But I've got a buddy of mine that's got a Jeep, kind of like that sent me down your path of doing what I done with yours. I done the he had a picture of where he was out. I think he was coming back home from Easter Jeep Safari either last year or year before, and he had a picture of it, and he's like, here, take this, or he said, take my Jeep out of this picture and put it into something. You just do whatever. And I done it, and he loves it. He ain't come and got it yet. I haven't had a chance to see him, but I've got it sitting here waiting on him. And so I do things like that. But that's the one thing I've done with AI so far. I don't want anybody to feel like I have stole their ideas. Uh, and I try to tweak things and do things here and there that try not to. But honestly, there is so many makers out there. At some point or another, you're going to overlap somebody with something.
If I've learned
A little
anything,
bit.
yeah, if I've learned anything in 30 years of designing, and granted, I'm in civil engineering, that's my daytime job. There is very few original ideas. It's always you see something and you improve on it, you make it better, you do those kind of things. And that's why I like AI, for the fact that I can take an idea that I have in my head and use that to give me something to start with.
Yep.
And I may not use any of that by the time it's said and done. But the thing is now that I've got my idea out and it's created something back, then that creates new ideas.
Yep.
And so, that's it's invaluable for that. But you've got to understand it's a tool. It's not just something that you're going to go out there and every single time it's going to make it perfect. You're going to be able to put it in Lightburn or, your 3D program and go. So
you're going to have to, well, and see, that's with me. And I think me and you've talked about this. There's a bunch of different ways to do what I do. I need to be able, I've got to, and it's not frustrating. It is something that I need to do because of me creating. I've kind of gotten a happy place right now where I'm comfortable with doing the lives. And yes, they might be an hour, hour and a half. They could be 5 hours with me, like me and Jack done the other night. But honest to goodness, I think me and Jack was talking about it afterwards. Us sitting there for 4 and 5 hours, honestly, it did not feel like it was 5 hours long.
Yeah. And it goes by quick. And that's the one thing that I know Greg, he talks about, he doesn't understand how to set this up and this, that, and the other. And you literally just have to get out there and do it. And you learn as you go. And you've got to understand in this situation where YouTube or anything like that, you're going to look silly for a while. You're going to say things, you're going to do things, and you just have to understand that you're going to do that and to get to the point where you can, do other things. So, and
now that was, I think, that goes right back to one thing that is a perfect fall into. I was trying to help Three Dogs this past week with a file on a 3D print file. And I'm probably one of the last people that needs to be doing it, but I was trying to help him because he asked me to help him. And there was certain things that I had went and researched on and everything else, but at that specific time, the only thing I knew was Tinkercad on certain ways to do certain things. And if it wasn't for Jack, Jack stepped in the other night and he was like, "Hey, why don't you try this?" And after me and him, Jack's like, I've never done Tinkercad as much, but Tinkercad is a very simplistic, and there's only certain ways that there's a lot of stuff that you have to do in Tinkercad to get a certain effect that is going to be as simple as what Jack was showing, what within a couple of minutes you're able to do in a slicer.
Yeah, and that's all just experience of doing it. And that's the one thing that you learn when you're in doing anything like that design wise. You just learn the shortcuts more than anything. So, but
going back to that, I think you said it in one of your what was it? Maggie's in there having a fit. It was one of your things is like starting out with the basics.
Yeah.
Of doing certain things, and that's the one thing that helped me was with Tinkercad is, you take that round cylinder, you put that triangle on top, you do this, and there's certain things. Yes, it's a basic, very simplistic shape, but once you learn how to do that and you start seeing how the 3D sections come together and work together, that has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
And I hope that I can help, like Robert from Three Dogs. I hope I can help him with that. I think I'm going to try to sit down with him maybe tomorrow and show him some stuff if he hadn't already figured out a way to do it on his own. Because that for me, oh Lord, half the stuff that I fixed in this house, half the stuff I've worked on in my shop, I'm going to even say more than half. I'm going to say three quarters of most anything I ever learn or do, whether it's working on a vehicle, the house, or some things in life in general, you can pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. And you saw just a minute ago, Jack, we were talking about, designs and that kind of thing. And Rich said he has over 800 designs, and they're getting stole all the time. So, but it's you put it out there, somebody's going to grab it, and they're going to do something with it. And a lot of times they don't do anything but just put it back out there. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the one thing when you was talking about the 3D printing things a little while ago, or I see a lot of that. But that's where I do like to step in. I think I've seen it on Maker World. There's a couple other ones that I've seen it in. But when you go in there and you can basically buy somebody a coffee or whatever, and then you can go in and take that, revise it a little bit, make your own version, and do like a remix that say, hey, I done this to this and it helps this a little bit on this specific thing that I use it for, or whatever. It does things like that. And that's great that people are willing to put that stuff out there.
Yeah.
So
you've told us a little bit about your most frustrating. What's been your most rewarding part of your adventure so far?
Honestly, this meeting people,
Right.
having this technology to be able to reach across the country, reach across the world. Cause if I'm not mistaken, Chris, he's in Australia. I mean, how many honest to goodness, how many times will we all that's in chat, and all of us, whether we're a mile away from each other or thousands of miles away from each other, be able to sit here and do this?
Yeah. And not have a ham radio.
Exactly. And how many of us that are, and I say specifically for the few that are in here right now, I can't see how many's in here right now, but however many's in here right now, there is not one single person that we couldn't contact in the chat, me or you or anybody else, and not get an answer or help with something that we needed.
I gotta say, of course. Of course. Why wouldn't he have a ham radio on top of everything else he's got? So yeah. We'll see his video on that one next. So everybody have to have.
Matter of fact, I think he actually held that up and showed it one night.
Oh, did he? So I missed that one. So one final question here. So you came into the lasers, you got into the 3D because your son, and then of course you fall down that rabbit hole as well. What's the next craft you'd like to try?
That's kind of a I guess the next thing and it's going to be the typical one, I think, for me, just for the simple fact I don't have one. Probably the CNC side of things. I guess because of there's a lot of people that make certain things that I do want to make, and it goes back to I'm going to use it for a certain purpose to begin with. But where that road takes me, like this, I mean, honestly, I never thought I'd have a fiber laser sitting here where I could do the saw blades that I was doing. That saw blades was one of the last things on my mind. I was wanting to do coins, and I enjoy doing the coins. But honestly, here lately, I think doing my saw blades has probably been one of my better things that I've enjoyed more.
Yeah.
I enjoy the setup on it. I mean, I don't just use Lightburn. I don't just use AI. I don't, I've got a little process that I go through when I set it up, and I have to pull all the stuff that I think out of here and try to figure out how to put it in the computer to tell it what I want to do to try that.
Mm-hmm.
But what would the UV print? Now, I would love to have a UV laser.
Yeah.
That I think would overstep maybe my CO2 galvo on certain things, but UV printing, that scares me a little bit because it's not because of what it does, it's because of how much the material is when it comes to replace it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because that is, from what I have seen, that's just a really expensive. I mean, 3D printing, you can buy $8 to $14 rolls. You know, you got wood that you do for this. I pick up used saw blades for my fiber laser. You know, paneling is, plywood is cheap, a lot cheaper. But when, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff about it that I don't understand. So, that's where I hope I end up with good friends that's close by. I can say, hey, can we barter something here?
Yeah. Well, you talking about the UV laser. I would love to have one of those to do my glass with, to be able to get that, because I still use my CO2 90% of the time for my glass. And the only thing that you have to really be careful of, depending on how thick that glass is, you'll get some chip out sometimes. And so I've got a little process that I can pretty well get most of the chips out, and I don't lose very many little pixels inside it as far as the etching that it puts on there. But I would like to be able to put that nice smooth finish that you see that people put up on UV.
I need to do some more testing and playing with that and really watching some videos. And I guess that's one thing I need to do too. I guess I could start a series, because I'll be honest with you, the only person that I have been able to watch decent videos on, or that has got any length to them that kind of explains anything, and that's Patrick with the CO2 Galvo, because there's not a lot of people that use them to make content with that really goes through the basics of what they how and to use.
Right.
I was playing with one of those little trivets because I seen Patrick playing with one. And I'm like, I want to try one of them. And then I'm sitting here and I'm playing with it and I'm doing some testing on it. And I'm sitting here staring at my computer and I hear something crack, or like a creak. I didn't know what it was, didn't have a clue. And about 5 minutes later, I heard it again. And then the next thing I hear, poof. That trivet turned into 1,000 little pieces.
Yeah.
I got it too hot, and I didn't realize that.
I had a piece of glass. I did have it sitting here. I don't think I've got it in here anymore, but I had one that drilled a hole right through the center of it, and I didn't realize it, and turned around and looked, and I had this hole here. So,
I mean, that's something I would like to do. I mean, because like I said, I see the other CO2 Galvo stuff that I see people doing. I see some of the people, it's set, granted, which it should be set up for business, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be. And I want to make money with it because I got to pay for it. But there's not a lot of how-to videos with it.
Yeah.
There's very few. I mean, everybody talks about using them, but now, if I can go just a second longer, the one thing that I do want to play with, and I've talked about it a couple of different times on a couple of different lives, and I've really got to try to get some time to settle in and play with it for about a week. I have built one of the DIY indexing tables.
Let me
Go ahead.
We hope everything's okay. So,
Ed, we'll be praying for them.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Definitely be praying for them.
So, anyway, sorry, I apologize for that. I just happened to see that.
No. That's a lot more important to me talking about indexing, Ed. I hope she's okay.
Right.
I I've got to sit down. I played with it a little bit when I first put it together, and I know it works. It moves back and forth, and there's a couple little things that I need to make for it. But this is one of those things I'm kind of like I'm pulling the jack on. I don't want to pay $1,800 for an indexing table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've got maybe probably maybe 300 or 400 in it, maybe. And the rest of it's just playing with the features and learning how to do it, because I want to do some of the crosscut like framing saws.
Mm-hmm.
And they're longer. Of course, you can't put some of those. It's over there hanging on the wall somewhere. I'd done one of those little, what is it? What is it? Like a finish trim saw.
Mm-hmm.
Like you use crown molding and stuff like that on. I got one of the small ones. It was a cheap one with the wooden handle from Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
So I got it, played with it, and I absolutely loved it because it turned out really good. Well, right here is one of the little, and that may not show up with that glare. There it is.
Whoop, wrong way. Let's get you up here. Wrong one. Let's do it again. Wrong way. Anyway, I can't get it to come up right now. So,
right there's one of those, and I love that little stuff. And but I'm gonna have to say that's probably gonna be one of my favorite lasers, is playing with the fiber laser. As much as I like my CO2, and it makes my fiber laser look like a itty bitty Tonka toy, but it's just that fiber laser is amazing to me. The coins, the taking metal away and stuff like that. And I've got so many people that I done that big order for the challenge coins. I've got a buddy of mine right now that I'm in the process of doing some stuff for, and it's probably going to end up working out. I'm hoping and praying that it's going to be a pretty good setup for I've got, I think, 25 awards that I got to have ready by a week from Saturday for a bike rally. He come to me Thursday and he said, do you think we could come up with something? He said, cause I dropped the ball. He said, I supposed to have done something with this before. And he said, and he's just hoping somebody can help him come up with something to pull it out. And so we're doing those. But along the lines with that, he saw the saw blades and stuff that I've done. And I'm actually doing a donation to one that's going up. It's going to be like a closed bid type thing. It's to help a family. I don't know him personally, but he had a big following as far as people that loved him. And we're doing a big saw blade that's going to go up. It's going to be showed at the rally, and then people can do a closed bid there. And I think we're doing another one for a benefit that they're doing in September. And cool. Those are going to be bid on for that. And then he's going to do 2 more just for the family members that's going to be given to them. So,
well, that's very cool of you. I wanted to mention, if you've not noticed, up top's the banner for Duane and his YouTube channel, along with his Facebook. Like and subscribe to him, and if you feel led to, go ahead and like and subscribe on my channel as well, because we're both doing the same thing. We're just trying to make it through YouTube and share a little bit of what we like. Like I've told you, I enjoy this right here. I enjoy the fact that I can come on and I can learn how somebody has come from where they started all the way up to now. There's a question here for you. He's asking, what fiber laser would you have? And before you answer, I'd say, what would you do? You live about 15 minutes from me if you live in Havelock, so we'll have to try to catch up sometime.
Yes, definitely. When it comes, I guess my experience, and I can be wrong. Some people, anybody that's in here would say different than me. If you buy, okay, I've got a JPT MOPA laser source that's in this. So it really is not going to determine the name on the box as much as really watch what you're getting as far as the parts inside the box. I think that's one thing it I kind of took from Patrick and some others. Now I really like dealing or talking to the people like Pascal from even though I haven't bought one from you, I own a Hotian now with this CO2 Galvo, and I've asked him many questions on it, on different things. But the Hotian name brand seems like they're a good company to work with and good people to work with. But that's really comes down to what you're looking at is finding somebody that you feel like is the right machine for you. But, you know, buying that Mon port right there, I got that from Patrick. I got it for a good deal, and I bought it from somebody that I trusted.
Yep.
So you've got that to go back on. Now there is other machines. I wouldn't sit there and say that about that Monport gantry, because there are some out there that's going to be better. But for me, I can't spend $16,000 on a laser.
Yeah, well, I was gonna show mine sitting here and right behind me as well. That's a Monport 30 watt. Now, as far as what he's talking about, you can do brass coins on that 30 watt, but you're gonna take
forever
hours. And so I have kind of shunned away from the coins for now. And Jack in the shops here talking about the source and the lens is the main thing. So to answer the question about a fiber, you basically have got to figure out first what you want to do with it. And then from that point, how much power or wattage that you'll actually want to be able to pay for. So that's,
and that thing, as far as like, you don't have to have a MOPA. I mean, if you're just playing, I mean, the MOPA is good, but if you want to go down the rabbit hole of color, it really truly is. You don't have to have it, but that's where that comes into the effect. Now I seen what Wood said something about the X-Tool F1 Ultra. I've got the X-Tool F1 diode / IR laser and I strictly use it to take the shows. So I can do little things here and there when I want to do something on the spot. But I personally, this is for me, I would rather have the open bed frame like ours or like the CO2 Galvo than I would the closed. But that's me personally, because I can always build a frame to go around it so I don't see it and stuff. But I don't like being tied to that small ish, because I'm not going to be able to do a 12-inch saw blade on a X-Tool F1 Ultra.
Jack, get that campaign started up anytime now. You can send it to me when you. So, well,
start campaigns of that if you want to.
That's right, sir. But well, Duane, I have enjoyed it just like I did when we got and met each other for the first time when you came down here. So
this is what I enjoy the most.
I think we've had another good show, and I appreciate everybody that's in the chat tonight. We've had a lot of conversation going on back and forth in that too, so that's been good to see. And but is there any final words that you'd like to say to everybody?
Get out there, have a good time. Join our live streams. I mean, get you a camera, get you a thing. I mean, we may not be able to fit everybody in on one, but at some point or another, do what we've done. I mean, just start talking to people and have a good time. I mean, this to me is the closest that we'll be able to have a campfire and be able to sit around and shoot the breeze for the most of us. I mean, me and you get together, me and you and Jack can get together, but trying to get with Jim or Jeremy or Rich or, even Patrick's not that far away from us, but I mean, time, but doing stuff like this is what it's about. This is helping people, talking to people, just enjoying each other's company, having a good time, being able to talk and work people's stuff out to the best you can.
Well,
and I hope that continues.
You said it at the very beginning, that list of people we've got over there right now, the people that maybe are not on the chat tonight, Clack and Steve and those guys, we're all learning, and even the guys who've done it a lot longer, they're still learning. And for us to all share information together, that's what I enjoy the most too, is the fact that everybody can give whatever little bit of information they have, and then you can take that information and use it and fit it to whatever you're working on. And so that it makes us all better in the end.
I guess the one thing about it is, if old man told me one time, he said, if you ever stop learning something, you need to find something else to do.
Yeah. And well, the other thing too, if you stop learning and you stop moving, what happens? You die. So you gotta, and this, I've said it a couple times before. I'm about 5 years away from retiring. This is what's going to be my ultimate retirement, is to sit in this shop. And that's why I worked so hard for the last year or so to get everything in here, get the air on like I did this last week and all that kind of stuff. So when the time comes, I do have something to do, because my wife will run me out of the house in a heartbeat, because after a little while, she's going to be like, you need to go do something. Because the one thing that she loved when I had my woodworking shop is I could go out there. And like you said earlier, you go out there and you lose yourself. You just totally are doing whatever you do. And that's good for us. All the people that are in the chat, us included, we are all a type A personality. We like to get out there and do things, make things, get things done. And so to have these outlets is awesome to have. And
if your wife supports you in doing it, make her stuff, and you'll be able to buy a lot more equipment.
Yeah, well, that's why we have the he shed, she shed. So that's why she's got a little over here. So, but thank you again, Duane, for coming on tonight. Really enjoyed it, and appreciate everybody on the chat coming in for tonight. And so we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll see if we're in the shop by then. So everyone have a wonderful day.
Good to see y'all. Good night.